Praise the Lord. The live is working. If you're here, let me know in the live chat. Oh, Soon to Rise is here. Thank you very much. Thank you for the thumbs up. Everyone else that comes in, please let me know in the live chat. I'll wait a few minutes till more people come in, as always. So just let me know when you're here. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So let me see. Anyone here? Let me know in the live chat if you can hear me, please. I'm looking for the Bible verse we're going to use for today. So can I go to the New King James Version? Aver, thank you for being here. Naima, thank you for being here. 2 thumbs up already. Thank you very much. Blessed Docetus, thank you for being here. Mr. Durden, Elephant Room Studio, thank you for being here. I want you to go to Matthew chapter 5, verse 25 till 26. Let me put it in the live chat for you. Let me know when you're there. Mm-hmm. Oh, okay. Now wait 30 seconds more till others are there. Matthew chapter 5, verse 25 till 26. Mm-hmm. I'll wait. Good, more people are there. That's good. Let me go and read it. This is something Christ said. Okay, so pay attention. It was at the Sermon at the Mount. He said, agree with your adversary quickly while you are on the way with him, lest your adversary deliver you to the judge, and the judge hand you over to the officer, and you'll be thrown into prison. Assuredly, I say to you, you will by no means get out of there till you pay the last penny. All right? Let me read it one more time. Agree with your adversary quickly, whilst thou art on the way with him, lest your adversary deliver you to the judge, and the judge hand you over to the officer, and you be thrown into prison. Assuredly, I say to you, you will by no means get out there until you pay the last penny. Okay? So, for those who just arrived, this live stream is going to be about recognizing time bombs. During this lifetime, you will face conflict. You will face difficulty. You will face retaliation. You will face uncomfortable circumstances. What believers and unbelievers do. There is one big difference I've noticed between believers and unbelievers. And it's nothing to do with the word, nor with the Bible. Many unbelievers, because they have no long-term security to rely on, they have only one thing, and that's to get out of a bad situation as soon as possible. And unbelievers, I'm sad to say this, but sometimes, but not really sometimes, often unbelievers pay more attention to what Christ said in Matthew chapter 5, verse 25 to 26 than believers do. Matthew chapter 5, verses 25 to 26 are parts of the New Testament that are often not talked about. It's often not preached, and it's often just neglected. But it's very important for us to pay attention to it. So, let me give you the context of what Christ was saying about, because Christ was born and he lived under the Roman administration, the Roman Empire, all right? In the Roman Empire, you had the Roman legal system. You had the pagan courthouses. The same pagan courthouses you have this day also, where they put the Greek abominations out there. So you had those Greek/Roman courthouses And the rule was this: any disagreement or conflict you have with each other as citizens or as residents, you deal with it together, or you deal with it on your own terms. If you really don't get out and things are about to become violent, you go to a pagan courthouse. There, the administrator will take your case and the pagan judge will decide on it based on Roman law. And once the judge decided one party is guilty, the guilty party would be fined. And it was the custom that if you were fined, you would put in prison till someone, often your relatives, would pay for you, or you had performed slave labor till the fine was paid. It happened often back then, when Christ walked the earth in the Roman Empire, that people had disagreements, and one of the parties decided to lie on them at the pagan courthouse. Now, if you lie on someone, you'll be found out. But here's the thing. Let's say you have Brutus and Renus. I'm using Latin names now because this was the situation in the Roman Empire. You have Brutus and Renus. Brutus and Renus are two bodies who've known each other since childhood. Renus suddenly took offense at Brutus because Brutus became more popular than Renus is. So one day, Renus begins to make accusations that Brutus thinks he's something. And Brutus thinks, shut the F up, man. You're just jealous. And Brutus just doesn't talk to Renus anymore. Renus goes to a pagan courthouse and he tells them that Brutus stole money from him. Now, when this report was made, Renus had to offer evidence. But here's the thing. There was no evidence that Brutus stole from Renus. Now, the judge, however, decided to have Brutus arrested so that the judge could hear him out about the matter. And when the pagan judge, just called the judge Gaius, the judge Gaius was a sodomite who done the bathroom and all of that. He's a full pagan, worshipping the beast. He listened to the court case. And Gaius, the judge, figured out Renus is just jealous and envious that his childhood friend is getting along better with the opposite sex. And now, Renus, instead of facing his own issues and looking for solutions, he dumps on one of his own friends. And the judge was disgusted by Renus' attitude. But look at this. Renus has been spreading rumors around that Brutus stole from him. So now there's contention in the community against Brutus. So the judge figured out, if I tell Renus to shut up and to stop, or if I fine Renus, the people that agree with Renus are going to feel offended because they're upset. They have no evidence of Brutus stealing, but they're all upset and they are dumping it on Brutus. So as long as Brutus is walking on down the streets at ease, all those offended people are going to be more enraged. And before you know it, you will have a mob coming to lynch Brutus. So Gaius, the judge, decides, you know what? We don't want lynchings to happen here in this Roman province. So you know what I'm going to do? I am going to lock up Brutus till the case is solved. And afterwards, I'll just fine Brutus for some weird reason. And he has to do manual labor here till the debt is paid. Now, of course, Brutus was having it, but the judge decided on it. So Brutus ended up working 6 months as a slave, doing hard labor, even almost had accidents back then for something he didn't do. He never stole any money. Now, why did Gaius, the judge, decide to do this? Because the judge knew, as you have hundreds of people that are upset. When people are upset, they want an outlet for being upset, and they chose that Brutus is the outlet. So if nothing bad happens to Brutus, if there's no lack or no worse circumstance happening to Brutus, those people are going to lose their minds. Either they will go after Brutus to lynch him, or they will turn on each other. They will cause riots and bloodshed in the streets. So the judge realized, this situation has gone too far. So now, Even though it's unjust and it doesn't add up, the judge, just to preserve societal ease, he blames Brutus for allowing the situation to escalate. Now, Brutus just defended his case, saying, Your Honor, I didn't steal anything. Then the judge tells him, But, sir, when you've heard that your friend was um, talking crap about you, why didn't you address the crap at the moment? Why didn't you just ban him? Why didn't you just cut him off? You allowed him to remain around you, thinking it will be resolved, and that gave him a chance to spread more dumb rumors about you. Even went so far to lie on you stole from him. Now, you have a whole conflict in the community that even if your innocence is cleared, people are still going to be upset with you, and you're going to get more trouble because of this. You should have removed that man from your life the moment he began to act stupid. So based on this blame, which Brutus agreed to, he was sentenced by the pagan courthouse. Now, the example I give unto you is just an example, but such things often happened, that people, because they didn't want to face themselves, decided to look for a fight with someone else. And because one individual was the target of contention, the rest of the community joined in the contention because the rest of the community didn't want to deal with the contention of the one attacking. So the community often joined the attacker against the victim. And such things often happened. It happened to Christ. It happened to the apostles. Even before Christ, it happened to the prophets also. So the Romans came with the pagan courthouse system just to prevent such dumping from escalating. So anytime the community needed a scapegoat, the Roman courthouse would do the dirty job for the public, just to keep the public at ease. All right? So the same thing the pagan courthouse are doing till this day. Nothing has changed. Because the courthouses of today are an extension of the Greco-Roman pagan courthouses back then. And Christ lived under the Roman Empire, so where he had the pagan courthouses jurisdictions, and Christ knew everything about it. Christ even witnessed many of those things happening around him. So Christ was teaching the disciples. It's also teaching us. When you notice that people have issues against you, when you notice that people are beginning to scapegoat you, take action immediately to get out of that situation. De-escalate immediately. Why? Because if you don't de-escalate immediately, then the people will go further and further because offense always escalates. People that are looking for a way to dump will always escalate further and further. It's like an addiction. So once it escalates further, the community will suffer harm. So let's say now, I'm using myself as an example. Let's say you have people who suddenly think, who does Rashid think Rashid is? Huh? Posting all those YouTube videos. Who does he think he is? Now, I'm thinking, jokers, why are you upset with me making YouTube videos? If you really want to be upset, check all those sex predators out there that are hunting children, or check all those politicians who are lying to you all the time, or check that boss at work that's training you. You have a lot of folks to be upset with. Why are you upset with me? And I keep on making videos. I don't even record those people. What happens then? Their negative behavior doesn't slow me down making videos. So what are they going to do now? They're now going to escalate because now they're going to feel humiliated because their violence didn't work. And then they're going to complain like they're the victim. And because the community doesn't want to deal with them exploding in anger, the community tends to appease them by also agreeing with them against me. So now you have what they will call flying monkeys in the world that also are upset with me because they will say, Rashid, you know, people can't stand you, so stop making videos. Because if you make videos, you get more influence. People will feel humiliated by that because they expect that nothing good will come from you. So you just have to give in to their bad expectation, because when you give in to the bad expectation, they don't get upset, because once they're upset, we need to deal with it. So because of you, Rashid, we need to deal with the anger of those people. Instead of us being angry with those people for being dumb towards you, we're going to be upset with you because you should make sure we are at ease all the time. That's the narcissistic attitude of society. They don't care if you are the victim, if you're the ones being wronged. As long as your victimization does not affect them nor bother them, they're okay with it. I'm not saying okay that they agree with it, but they will allow it to happen. That is society. So let's say I keep making videos and I just disregard other people. One day, one of the guys may beat up his wife out of frustration. And now the children at home are traumatized because the mother was beaten up out of the blue. Now the community around them are hurt. Now, why did the guy beat up his wife? He was so upset because he didn't have the final say over already does it, that all that humiliation escalated on his wife at home. So now the people around who remember that this guy that escalated was so upset with this already does it. So then they're going online, check who's this already does it. And because they don't want to face the fact that they're dealing with a narcissistic creep amongst them, they will say, well, that guy escalated because something Rashid said in one of his videos. Which video? Rashid has hundreds of videos. Well, one of those videos. And then they will all be invested against Ari Dosset. Even though Ari Dosset doesn't know who they are, they never had contact with me, but they still feel like I injured them, even though I don't even know they exist. You have a creep amongst them that's targeting me, and they, because they don't want to deal with the fact they have a creep amongst them, they join the creep against me so that they are left alone. And now they will even believe the scam that they are being victimized. They will feel victimized by me because I don't give in to their relief. Some people out there expect you to allow yourself to be victimized and killed so they are at ease. Some people really demand you to allow yourself to be abused and mistreated as long as the negative tension is on you. They don't want to face any negative tension, so they expect you to put up with abuse and violence so that all the negativity goes towards you. And once you're harmed, you don't want to deal with either. So society will often expect you to allow yourself to be harmed and killed so that they are at ease. And if you survive, you don't want to hear anything about you needing any help or whatever. That's how the world is, straight up. So I keep on making videos, and now you have a whole crowd of people that are beginning to stalk me online, all of that. They'll begin to make false police reports. Some even try to befriend me on social media, trying to get close so they can get information from me to use against me. Now you have a whole crowd gang stalking me because they feel upset because they didn't validate their urge for relief. That's how it often goes in the world. And from there, it will go on and on and on. That's how the crowd is. That's how the masses are. They just want relief, just want to be left alone, just want to be unbothered by stuff. And the moment they're bothered, they will look for an outlet to dump upon. Being constructive, looking for solutions, is something worldlings seldom do. Christ knows how worldlings are. The pagan courthouses know how worldlings are. So both Christ and the pagan courthouses will tell you, the moment you notice that there is some contention starting against you, make sure you de-escalate it. We're not telling you to just bend over and allow and validate the violence, but make sure you de-escalate one way or the other. So that's why in all my videos I give context. I'm not saying something and you have to figure out what I'm saying. Because if I say something and someone takes it the wrong way and they cause trouble, people don't say, well, the individual caused trouble because something Rashid said. If the individual is guilty, they'll use it, come after me. But if I give context in every video, over and over again, and I always tell people that agree with Christ, they can't come with complaints. So I covered myself by doing that, by always giving context and by reminding people to agree with Christ. That's why nobody can come and say, Rashid scammed me. Rashid is misleading the people. Rashid has some bad influence. No, because they'll realize Rashid said, agree with Christ. So you must check it with Christ, whether what I'm saying is correct or not. And I always give context. So if someone hears Rashid say that feminism is detrimental to females' mental health, and I give context of the history and where feminism went wrong, any judge or any police officer will listen to the video and say, hold on a minute, this guy explained what he said. So if you take it the wrong way, it's on you. If you would have said it out of the blue without context, it would have caused people to feel hurt. Then you could maybe come with a claim of hate speech, whatever. The thing is, when you give context what you're saying, and your context can be justified, they can't accuse you. I do not support that rainbow community. Absolutely not. People know that about me. I do not support that rainbow community. I support God's sexual blueprint, Adam and Eve, husband and wife, male and female. That's what I support. I only support that. I'm very plain and direct about this. And till this day, no rainbow warrior came to my channel, attacked me, and no rainbow mob came after me. Why? Because I always give context. I explain I have nothing against people with an alternative sexual lifestyle. I'm just saying I'm pro-life, I'm pro-husband and wife, I'm pro-man and woman, I'm pro-natural sex as God designed it. because that is stable for the human community. And because I'm pro the human community, I'm against everything that harms the human community. When I gave that context, then if people want to complain, I can answer, okay, I'm pro-life, I'm pro the human community, I'm pro the safety of children. So give me receipts, give me scientific receipts that your alternative lifestyle will contribute to the long-term well-being of our species. They can't give any. So when we give into context, now if they want to attack, they need to come with their context, but their context does not exist. So then they back off. It's a losing battle for them. But if I would just say, I don't support the rainbow community, they could say, oh, this hate speech, oh, he's a homophobe, or he's a transphobe, whatever. But because I give context, I've covered myself. So if they come, they have to face the context. And if they want to use the Bacon courthouse or the police or whoever to use as a weapon against me, they would say we can't do anything. Because both legally as on a social level, that guy covered himself and he made very plain he has nothing against you folks. He's only for the natural blueprint of the human species. And indeed, there are no scientific receipts that your lifestyle that you guys are holding on to is beneficial for the human community as a whole. So if they want to keep on fighting, they need to admit that many of their dogmas is based on non-scientific proof, which is not no proof at all. So that's why I cover myself. Because I remember what Christ said. If you have an adversary, that adversary wants something, wants some excuse to attack you. They want some excuse to unload on you. So by not allowing them to have excuses, you've covered yourself. If they attack you and they have no excuse to justify it, then it will look bad on them. But if there's some excuse they can use for attacking you, the public will likely take their side. Because the victim is always to blame. The victims also blame the world. That's the norm. That's the blueprint of the world. The victim is always to blame, unless it's too obvious that the victim cannot be blamed. For example, if it's a child or when someone was mentally ill or something, when the victim is way too weak and way too vulnerable, people are going to say, hey, that goes too far. Okay? Then people can't excuse this. But if they can excuse it, they will excuse it. So, this live stream is about recognizing time bombs. And it's not just about you. It's just about the situation in general. It's just about daily life in general. Learn to recognize time bombs. This is something many believers are not really equipped into. Too many believers were influenced by pagan Christianity or the Catholic system into becoming polite victims. That's how those pagan churches taught us to be. They shaped us into being polite victims. The world expects believers to be polite victims. That's how they portray Christ, as a polite victim, instead of the resurrected Lord he is. Amen. So, if they are painting Christ as a polite victim, they don't expect us believers to be polite victims also, so they are at ease. And many believers still think that they need to be polite victims in order to glorify Christ. So, and because many believers fell for this throughout the ages, now not all believers, many believers did, the world has this expectation that when you call yourself a believer or a follower of Christ, that you need to be a vulnerable, polite victim. And when they see that this is not the case, that you're not into this deception, they turn on you. So, believers often don't de-escalate as a situation because they think that, well, during his lifetime, we just have to find a way to deal with everything and hope it's going to be better in heaven. That's what the thing a lot of believers have, which is not biblical. So, unbelievers, both whether pagan or without any spiritual cover, they know that if situations escalate, that they'll have to deal with the consequence. Now look at this. Let's say you're in school and one guy pulls up and smacks you. You smack him back to defend yourself, because if you don't smack him back, he'll keep on beating on you. And then the principal comes and both of you have to go to the office, both of you receive punishment. And you show your wounds and show to the principal, he attacked me. I had to defend myself. The principal says, I don't care. There's contention here. I don't want it. So both of you are punished. And sometimes you deal with the one attacking you, and they find you, smack the individual that attacked you, and even though they know that you were just retaliating, they will address you and leave the official attacker behind. We all witness those examples, whether on the workplace or in movies or just in daily life. Society doesn't care why something's happening, as long as they can get, as long as they are not bothered, it's okay. It's all about the relief. It's all about the relief. So all of us have been shown by the world how the world is. They don't care why a conflict occurred, as long as nobody is bothered by the conflict. So if someone attacks you, you just need to make sure that others aren't bothered by you being attacked. And if you cry for help or scream for help, and others are bothered by it, they're going to be angry with you because they need to deal with something. It's very twisted how this world thinks, but that's how the world is. So unbelievers, whether pagan or not, they know that when things go down, when things go south, they will have to face the consequences. So worldlings know by default that they need to avoid negative contention as much as possible. They know that they need to avoid escalation as much as possible. Now, some worldlings believe in the self-defense scam, and they end up going off into conflict to prove them their innocence, and they end up in very bad situations. There are people that end up in jail because they were defending themselves. There are people that died because they were defending themselves, and suddenly someone picked up a knife and they were killed. Indeed, they're using Matthew 5:38 and 40 to justify abusing of victims. Now look, there are even children who were sexually abused and molested, and they pointed it out, and the parents told them, don't talk about it, I don't want to hear it. Many told other people said, we don't want to hear it. Such things happen daily, that children speak out when they are sexually abused, and the people say, we don't want to hear it, we don't want to deal with it. And they keep on dealing with the abuser as if nothing happened. Such things happen. It's just a world to flee and escalate. And often they escalate, let me say, they flee by denying what goes on. And when they can't deny what goes on, they escalate on the victims. That's what the world does. So worldlings know that they need to de-escalate as soon as possible. Believers, however, are told that we ought to be the polite victims. So when bad things happen, we think it's our duty to just go through it. And I'm telling you, we need to stop that. I'm not telling you to fight back, because when you're fighting evil, you're affected and trapped by the same evil you're fighting. If you flee, you're enabling it. I'm telling you to shut it down. And the way you shut it down is by seeing what goes on and use your spirit abilities and also your common sense to de-escalate and get yourself out of that situation. That's what turning the other cheek means. Turning the other cheek simply means that you de-escalate in such a way that you don't have to harm neither yourself nor other people. Indeed, we need to walk by faith to overrule and make evil irrelevant, indeed, as I mentioned before in previous live streams. The reason I make this live stream is because I need to remind you all of this. We need to learn to recognize time bombs. A time bomb is any situation that's about to escalate and cause a lot of harm. We need to listen. When you walk by faith, when you set peace ahead of you and all those things I've been teaching you, you are shutting things down even before they begin. It can be that the supermarket where you're about to shop, that there is this guy with a knife about to stab someone. You don't even know those two people exist. That someone's about to be stabbed over there. But you send peace ahead of you. Because you send peace ahead of you, the one carrying the knife loses his bus ticket and he can't take the bus. The stabbing doesn't happen. Such things. We should be, when we walk by faith, when we set peace ahead of us, when we decree and declare and fast and pray to all of that, we'll be shutting down bad stuff even before they begin. And even if they happen, because the things that are about to happen already in motion, the harm will be limited. Indeed. Society raised all of us to be polite victims, especially if you were raised in the church. So all people in the world become time bombs eventually. Either you're a time bomb because you are so traumatized and you think your duty to just shut up and take it, and then you end up collapsing or escalating one day in a very ugly way, or you're told that it's okay to use violence as long as you have an excuse, and you end up violating people, and when you can't violate someone one day, you escalate. In any way, all worldlings end up becoming time bombs eventually. There's no other way around it. And that's why we as believers need to realize that worldlings will turn into time bombs sooner or later, some later in life, some quicker, but nevertheless, all worldlings eventually turn into time bombs. So we need to realize when a time bomb is there. How do you deal with people who know you can anticipate conflict? They plan it triggering, but if you walk by faith, you'll be ahead of them. That's what we ought to do. So what we need to learn to do is to just look at the situation for what it is. Children do this very well. Let's say you have Naomi. Naomi is a woman in her 70s. Naomi was an antisocial whore her whole life. She had children with the same husband that she did, but she was an antisocial whore her whole life. And she treated her children in a horrible way. And one of her daughters called her out on it multiple times. So Naomi developed bitter hatred against her own daughter. But she wanted to be a grandmother. So one day, Naomi's daughter, Priscilla, got pregnant, and she was all happy. She changed her whole behavior towards her daughter. Why? Because her daughter was about to give birth to her grandchild, and she wanted to be honored as this great, loving grandmother, even though she was a horrible individual. Now, Priscilla thought her mother wanted to reconcile and become better, and the mother showed more kindness. But the child was born. The child was a little boy, and the boy became 7 years old, Sean. And one day, Sean saw that grandma came to visit, but Sean felt very uncomfortable when grandma came in. And Sean also saw how his mother was feeling. Sean felt her mother become uncomfortable, and Sean felt his grandmother being a bit dangerous. And Sean also noticed the blunt way that Naomi spoke to her daughter. Now, the grandson, who was 7 years old, asked, "Mom, does grandma love you?" And Priscilla looks at his son, Sean, saying, "Sean, of course grandma loves me. Grandma loves you too." And Sean said, "I don't think grandma loves you, Mom. I don't like to talk to grandma anymore." Then Priscilla thinks, "Hey, don't talk like that about your grandma. Show some respect." Here's the thing, the mother is brainwashed. The mother doesn't even realize that the mother is taking advantage of her. So, but the grandson, who's just a child, sees clearly what goes on. So the grandchild begins to avoid the grandmother. And here's the thing, the grandmother just wanted to use the grandson as a narcissistic supply to play like this beloved elderly lady, even though she was a narcissistic whore that was still seeking to dump on people. When Sean was 15, and the grandmother realized that he wasn't really paying attention to her, the grandma began to cling on to her other grandchildren. But then those other grandchildren, some of the siblings of Sean, began to say, "Sean, grandma's talking very bad about you." And then the other siblings were telling, "You know what, Sean, we don't want to deal with grandma anymore." So those other children who were teenagers also realized, Sean, it's good that you want to talk to grandma. She's out of her mind. Now, their mother is still in denial, as well as their father, because they want to because they want to save face. And it's this pride that keeps them in danger, because the grandchildren know very well grandma, don't need to deal with her. It was only when one day the grandmother literally began to scream around in the street, all types of profanities, all types of accusations, and they had to call the cops to calm her down. It's then that everyone realized, okay, this woman's out of line. But when Sean was 7 years old, he sensed already this woman is not safe to be around. The other children were born, his siblings were just 3, 4, or 5 years old, but later also his siblings realized this woman is out of her mind. And that's the thing, children sense very quickly when something is off and when they need to get out. You don't have to tell a child twice when something is dangerous. You don't even have to tell the child. The child will feel it's dangerous, and the child will either cause trouble, begin to cry or scream or whatever to get out of there. Children in general far more practical than most adults. Because most adults will think, you know what, I need to behave, I need to be respectful, I need to have some manners, this and that. A lot of adults have an agenda. They want to save face in order to preserve acceptance by the group. And because this pride of saving face, they end up tolerating a lot of stuff that you should have shaken off a long time ago. Do you understand what I've just explained? Let me know in the live chat. Let me know in the live chat, please. Mm-hmm. All right. Good, you understand this. And understand the following. The psychopath, I don't defend psychopaths. If someone's a psychopath, they should become born again and renewed. Okay? Psychopaths are quite deranged. And that's what makes them dangerous, because they're so volatile, they can explode anytime when they feel hurt. Psychopaths are the type of people that can't handle any emotional distress. They just escalate. Okay? And they always have a justification for why they escalate. I don't support psychopaths, absolutely not. But there's one thing psychopaths are very correct about. A psychopath does not cling on to society's expectations that much. A psychopath recognize, okay, I can't have my way all the time because I can end up in prison, or if I go too far, people can beat me up, so I have to behave. So a psychopath will fake it as if he's clinging on to society's expectations. And a psychopath realizes very quickly, these people only expect things from me. When I'm in danger, when I need help, or when I'm complaining, people don't want to hear it. But they do want me to perform for them. So the psychopath sees very quickly how narcissistic society is. And the psychopath is thinking, listen, I'm not a good guy myself, but these people, they want to pretend to be good guys and good women. They want to pretend to be the good folks, but they're very narcissistic. These people, the moment you don't meet their expectations, they drop you as if you never existed. They become very cruel towards you. They ignore you as if you don't have right to exist. They will hurt you by ignoring you, or by talking down on you, or by just afflicting you the moment they don't get what they want. So the psychopath realizes immediately, these are the type of people I'm dealing with. And the psychopath is making very plain, I'm not taking it. Okay, so the psychopath thinks, okay, these people only want to take advantage of me. You know what? Let me take advantage of them and get away with it. And I don't care about their laws or anything like that, because they're narcissistic themselves. So I don't support the psychopath because they're not honoring Christ, and they just want to take advantage of other people without any accountability. So I don't support psychopathy. But the psychopath is correct in how worldly people are. It's the common folks that are filled with denial. If you have a mother, and anytime you disagree with her, or anytime she came up with a suggestion that didn't end up and you addressed it, and she suddenly began to ignore you or talk down on you, or anytime she was frustrated, she just dumped on you by calling you dirty names, that's an individual that's out of line that you need to avoid, and that's an individual that needs to be addressed. But a lot of people think, well, a lot of people are so shocked that their mother or father behave that way, that she had a bad day, or maybe she's gone through a lot, or maybe I deserve it. A lot of people make dumb excuses just to save face. The psychopath thinks, oh, okay, you want to play that game? Oh, I can become dangerous too. So with a psychopath, worldlings seldom come with their one-way traffic, because they know the psychopath may escalate on them and harm them. But the believer is told by pagan church to bend over and tolerate this narcissistic violence of the world, just so the world is at ease. We are told to be polite victims so that others are at ease. And the psychopaths looking at us thinking, what? You guys claim to serve the Heavenly Father? If you claim to serve the Heavenly Father, why are you putting up with those other people playing God over you? So if the psychopath, who is filled with darkness, filled with demons, would look at believers thinking, why do you keep going to that church where the pastor's lying to you? How can you go there every Sunday and there's no improvement in your life? So the psychopath is quite practical. The psychopath is quite realistic. But the psychopath is wrong because they just want to escape and escalate. And that's what makes them reprobates. But even though they are reprobate, they are correct. I'm not saying to you that we have to become like psychopaths, no. But at least the psychopath is realistic about what they're dealing with. Often believers are not, unfortunately. So that is why Psychopaths tend to be excellent managers in corporations or excellent political figures, not because they're doing any good, but because they're realistic. A politician that's a psychopath knows that a lot of folks want to be lied to. So that psychopath knows what to say to keep people down, and he knows what to do to escape trouble, and he knows what to do to prevent escalation. Okay, psychopaths tend to be very effective in their job because they're quite practical. Believers, just like worklings, because there are many believers that operate like worklings. Too many believers are just like the world. They're very emotionally invested. And because we are so emotionally invested, we are blinded from seeing what really goes on. So psychopaths are the advanced form of narcissists that have discarded their humanity completely and just want to get on high at someone else's expense and just want to be left alone. So the psychopath is the unapologetic narcissist, who therefore is a full-blown reprobate that has to be avoided. Commoners are narcissistic, but they're not all narcissists. You have commoners out there who are not narcissists, but they have a narcissistic attitude. The narcissist is someone who persists in fleeing and escalating. The commoner, in general, will realize, okay, I need to stop. I need to work, comply. So see the commoner as sour cream and see the narcissist as sour cream with some mold in it, and see the psychopath as a sour cream that's completely black, covered by the mold. Now, of course, the can with sour cream that's completely black, covered by the molds, you're not even going to touch it, because if you even touch it, you may get sick, or if you put it in your mouth, you may even die. So the sour cream that's totally black, covered by molds, of course, you're going to throw it away in the trash can. The sour cream that has a little bit of mold in it, you may not see the mold, and because of that, you're mistaken. Or you can take the sour cream. If you take sour cream, you can take it, but if you take too much of it, you will get sick also. So the common sinner out there is sour cream. The narcissist is sour cream with mold in it, and the psychopath is the sour cream completely covered by mold. Okay, that's how you need to see it. So if you eat the sour cream totally covered by mold, it's sure you'll die by food poisoning. The sour cream in itself, you can eat some of it, but if you eat too much, you'll get sick also. So you can tolerate some of the sour cream, that's just sour cream, but you can't tolerate any sour cream with mold in it. Now, narcissists are sour cream with mold, and psychopaths are sour cream totally devoured by mold. Both you need to avoid. But sometimes we don't recognize the mold in people. That's why we think that they're just common sour cream. And the pagan churchgoer, who's not a believer, but a pagan churchgoer, is sour cream with vanilla extract. Because you have this sweet vanilla extract in it, when you eat the sour cream, it tastes delicious. And you think, whoa, this is quite different from all the other sour cream. So you have the sour cream that's black with mold, completely poisonous. Even animals and insects avoid it. That one you know is pure black, is completely dangerous. Then you have the sour cream with vanilla extract. And because you compare the sour cream with vanilla extract to the sour cream that's black by mold, you think, whoa, that one is evil. And when you compare it with the one with vanilla extract, you think, whoa, not only is this more white, but it also tastes good. So then you think this is holy. But here's the thing, it's still sour cream. You have the vanilla extract, which is the pagan church doctrine that makes them more docile. And because they're more docile, you feel more comfortable, more at ease around them. But it's still sour cream. If you still eat a lot of it, you'll still get sick. Even though you don't taste the bitterness of sour cream, the bitterness is still there, so it will still affect you. The bitterness is covered by the vanilla extract. So, churchgoers are worldlings with some Christian sweetness in them. That's it, but they're still worldlings. Okay, they may not be people that immediately smack you down, they're upset, but if there's enough pressure, they will sell you out. So if you compare sour cream that's black, totally covered by mold, and just Common sour cream, you would see the common sour cream is good and the other is evil. Now, the one that's completely dark is absolutely evil, but the others are toxic. Toxic and evil not the same. Toxicity is something you can manage. Evil you need to avoid completely. Toxicity and evil are not the same. Evil you should avoid. Toxicity you can manage. And that's why you have pagan Christianity that takes worldlings and puts some sweetness in their toxicity, and because you don't notice their toxicity. You get it? The psychopath, you can't put sweetness in it because it's not going to work. The narcissist, you can't put sweetness in it because it's going bad. But the commoner, random commoner, you can put sweetness in them and they're a pagan churchgoer. So do you understand what I've just explained? Those are the 4 categories of unsaved people. The psychopath, completely covered molds, completely dangerous. Everyone avoids them because they're absolutely dangerous. The narcissist, who has mold in it, who's decaying, and you should avoid that one also. Then you have the random commoner, which is also a sinner out there. If you're hanging around too much around them, their happiness will affect you. And then you have the worldling with a Christian sweetness, and they're more contained and more managed. Those are the 4 types of unbelievers that we have. And then you have the believer. And from the believers, you have 2 categories. Those that walk in the power and those who don't. Those who walk in the power are saints. Those who walk in the power are just believers. All believers should be saints, but unfortunately not every believer is a saint in practice. So the pagan churchgoer and the believer appear similar, but they're completely not. The believer is a believer, they're born again, they have the Holy Spirit. A pagan churchgoer is just a worldling, someone that's lost with a Christian sweetness in it. So do you understand what I just explained? Let me know in the live chat. Do you understand what I've explained? So don't think that just because you got sour cream with vanilla extract that you're going to just take it all in. It's still going to affect you badly if you take too much of it in it. And all the sweetness will also affect your teeth. The same is with pagan churchgoers. At the end of the day, they're just worldlings. And too many believers confuse churchgoers for born-again believers. And that's a big issue we have today. Too many believers perceive churchgoers as brothers and sisters in Christ, while they're not. They mention the same name, they read from the same Bible, and they may have the same creed as you. They may have common values with you, but they're not believers. They're lost folks that are also fleeing and they're also escaping and escalating, but they escape and escalate in a Christian way. That's all. So many believers are just as polite victims as pagan churchgoers. And that needs to stop. We need to be saints. We need to graduate into sainthood. Right? So it's very simple. We need to see situations for what they are, not what we think they are, not what we want them to be. And listen to me well. Before I began this live stream, I was listening to another live stream of some Black YouTubers that were discussing some controversies that goes on in the Afro-American community. I'm not going into what the situation was, but there was this guy that was accused of scamming or whatever. And there was another news that came out that appeared to validate this. And almost everyone in the live stream, because you have a live stream with multiple people talking, they all went in on it. And people in the comment section in live chat were also going in on it. And I was thinking, okay, but there's one question that is not asked. Where's the proof? Where's the verification? They had no verification and no proof. So I'm thinking, if you claim that this Black public figure is a scam artist, and you gave him the benefit of the doubt, but now you hear another information, and you think, oh, this confirms he was a scammer all along. I was wrong. I feel sorry for giving him the benefit of the doubt. Okay, but this thing you just heard now, is it confirmed? Is it proven? It has to be true. No. Is it confirmed? Is it proven? And some of the people, even in the live chat, can ask, is it verified? Is it proven? Yeah, just look at the comments. No, is it verified? Is it proven? They couldn't answer it. If something is circumstantial, admit it's circumstantial. If it's likely true, it's likely true. But admit it's circumstantial. But the way I saw them go off was that they were already convinced in their mind this guy was a scammer. He was a bad guy all along. I was thinking, what? Weren't you the same guys talking all the time about that there needs to be proof, there needs to be receipts and all of that? And now you guys don't even have receipts and you go off at this guy? Let me tell you what was going on. Those guys on that live stream, not all of them, but many of them, had built this image of them being the good guys that does the good thing for the Black community. Okay? So they had to keep up this image. But they themselves had disappointments. And these disappointments became roots that were growing inside of them. So when those roots of disappointment inside of them were triggered, they went off emotionally. And listen to what I'm saying. Many of you went through this, and folks turned on you just like that. They heard a rumor about you, or one day you did something that they didn't expect, and suddenly you went off at you, and you think, what happened? Those people were into the escalation mode for a while. It's now that there's something triggers them that you notice what they were onto all along. And it's one thing you need to understand about it. Unbelievers, in general, you have exceptions, but exceptions are rare. Unbelievers in general just want relief. They just want to escape the bad and to remain at ease all the time. So unbelievers don't care who's innocent and who's guilty. They don't care what goes on. They don't care whose fault it is. As long as they can get their ease and relief, that's all that matters to them. So when unbelievers have decided that they're going to blame you, or they're going to take it out on you, they are going to blame you and they're going to take it out on you. From that point on, there's nothing you can do about them deciding to put it on you. What you can do is you walk by faith by shutting down their violence and by anticipating their escalation. That's what you should do. Now, those that don't walk by faith, they don't have Christ. Either they have a paranormal cover that keeps violence at the bay, or if you don't have any spiritual cover, they just escape or run away from a situation. Unbelievers in general just want an outlet to dump. That's it. The dumping is the most important thing to them. If they can't dump, they feel unease. Some people will avoid you and lose all interest in you when they see that they can't dump on you. Some people only want to be around you if they can dump on you. If they can't dump on you, they don't want you to exist. So let's say you see this situation going on, and you think I need to intervene to clarify things. It can't be that you're correct. But here's the thing. If those people are finally excited that they can dump, and you come in with the evidence that proves them wrong, what's going to happen? They're going to be upset with you disrupting their pity party, and now all of them will come to devour you. So that's why sometimes you just need to keep your mouth shut and not do what you're supposed to do. Sometimes we shouldn't do the right thing. Pagan church always tells us to do the right thing. Sometimes you should withhold doing the right thing and doing what's best. Sometimes you need to withhold doing what's right so that you can do what's best. If I live in a country and you have Chinese folks and Chinese people are the target of racism, Chinese folks are looked down upon, and I hear about this Chinese guy that stole a loaf of bread from a supermarket. Let's say I saw it happen, and people are asking who stole the loaf of bread. The right thing to do would be to say, oh, it's this Chinese guy that did it. But if I know that there is a connective contention against Chinese folks, I know that they're going to use this incident to blacklist all Chinese folks, and they will use this to actually head towards genocide towards Chinese migrant population. So if you know the right thing is to admit it's this Chinese guy that stole the loaf of bread, I will say someone stole the bread. I don't know exactly who he is, and that's true. I know it's a Chinese guy, but I don't know exactly who he is. So I'm not lying by saying I don't know exactly who it is. But just withholding information or by just not giving any comments, I'm preventing the masses from having an excuse to escalate on the scapegoats. So by doing what's best, I'm shutting down violence. You get what I'm saying? Let's say it was the Second World War, and there are Nazi officers going around looking for Jews to arrest. And you have a Jewish neighbor that's hiding um, in a barn outside. Are you going to, if the police, if the Nazi officer asks you, are there any Jews around to do anything? Are you going to tell them the facts that, oh, there's a woman, Jewish woman over there hiding in the cabin? No. If you do that, you know they're going to kidnap her and she end up dying. So you just say, you give misinformation. Well, I haven't seen any Jews lately. Or I'm not really into Jews. Or pretend like you're one of them. Do whatever. Sometimes you have to withhold doing what's right to do what's best. Indeed. That's what Christ meant by don't cast your pearls before swine. If you do what's right all the time, you'll be taken advantage of mercilessly. But if you do what's best, you shut down opportunities for evil and for violence. So do you follow me now? Let me know in the live chat. And unbelievers are quite knowledgeable about this. Let's say there is a block party somewhere. I'm not about a real block party, not the block parties I've been talking about, which is the Heavenly Father blocking. So sort of performing. If you have a real block party, a community party going on, and let's say you're hosting the party, and you know that there's this one guy in school that nobody can stand. Are you going to find that guy to the block party where you have people that he will encounter can stand him? No. Because those people that can stand him, when they encounter him, it's going to annoy them, and this annoyance is going to ruin the party. And they're going to blame that guy for ruining the party, if though it's them being annoyed at him. And afterwards, they may pull up on him. So either you don't invite that guy and you invite those other people, or you don't invite those other people and you invite that guy, but you don't invite them both. So even in the world they know, only invite people that wants to be invited. Only invite people that are wanted. Now, I'm not telling you to follow the logic of the world. If you follow the logic of the world, you'll end up as a polite victim also. And the world will tell you, don't go where you're unwanted. Okay, but what if you live in a community and you shouldn't go to work? And you shouldn't have any other option but to go to work. So if people at work know that you don't go where you're unwanted, if they want to get narcissistic supply, they will decide not to want you around, knowing full well that you end up homeless if you don't come to work. They'll take advantage of you. But if you're someone that you think, wait, you don't want me around, but hey, I have the need to be around, F you. I do my spiritual stuff and it shuts down and it backfires. You have to deal with me whether you want it or not. When you do that, eventually people will stop. They will be so humiliated they don't even dare to do it to you. But if they know that you're a polite victim, they'll feel comfortable disliking you and doing trash towards you. That is how the psychology of worldly people are. If they know that you take actions and there'll be consequences, difficulties for them. If they do stupid stuff, they will consider not doing it that quickly. But if they know you're a polite victim, they'll be more comfortable escalating on you. So don't follow all the things world people are telling you. Some of the things they're telling are practical and factual, but it's not Christ-centered. You don't need other people's permission to exist. If they think that you owe them to ask for permission to exist, then they're trying to play God. You just shake it off. You don't take that. And if they persist in escalating, you shake those off your feet and you move on. But you're not going to stay in your house because people can decide not to want you around. You're not going to do that. Get out of here. Always do what's best. Only do what's right when it's the best to do so. Only do what's right when it's best to do so. Don't just force doing what's right. Doing what's best. And look at this. Even pagan courthouses are like this. Let me tell you. Let's say that you have a man that committed fraud. He stole $2 million from people's savings accounts. So he robbed the insurance pockets of many people. He should go to jail. He should go to prison, I mean. So there's an arrest warrant by the public prosecutor to arrest him. The state is suing him. But then the mayor of the city is telling the police, okay, you got an arrest warrant, but I don't want you to arrest this man. And then the mayor will tell the prosecutor, I'm going against this arrest warrant. And then the mayor and the I would say the public defendant, or you can say the prosecutor. Oh no, not public defendant, the prosecutor. We have to appear before a judge, and the judge asks us, "Sir, you're the mayor of Chicago, but you just told this prosecutor over here that you don't want this man to be arrested. This man has committed crimes, so he needs to be arrested." But then the mayor says, "Yes, I never denied that the man committed crimes. I'm not saying he shouldn't be arrested and shouldn't be tried before a court of law. But listen, this man you want to arrest is a family man, okay? And he is in high regard in the community. If you arrest him, it will disappoint a lot of young people, and as young people may give up on wanting to be part of society, and they may up escalating into criminality. And then you will have a lot of harm happening in the city, and I don't want that. Because if that happens, I'll be the one blamed also for allowing it to happen. So I don't want this man to be arrested." And then the pagan judge will say, you're correct. And the judge will tell the prosecutor, cancel the arrest warrant. That's how it goes with pagan courthouses. Just because someone is guilty of a crime doesn't mean they automatically arrest someone. Sometimes the police officers are told to stand by and stand down so to de-escalate the situation. You get it? So even pagan courthouses are not fanatic in doing what's right. Yes, they are there to so-called enforce the law. But when they see that the law, if they see that enforcing the law will cause more problems than it solves, they will think, you know what, forget about the law. We need to do what's practical. That's why there are cases who are dismissed. Some cases are dismissed. Some sex offenses are dismissed by the courthouse. You know why? Not because they're protecting the sex offender, because they know once they prosecute this case, too much is coming out, and it's going to lead to a whole lot of new troubles. So they think, you know what? Even though according to law, the sex offender needs to be tried and put in prison, we will dismiss the case just to prevent worse from happening. Pagan courthouses are smart. They do what's best eventually, instead of doing what's expected of them. We expect pagan courthouses to always abide by the law, but pagan courthouses know better. Shuba says that's why believers need to build their own kingdoms in the here and now with the best business part of effort, the Holy Spirit. Indeed, that's how we need to do it. And here's the thing. We're told in the New Testament also to avoid pagan courthouses. We're told to avoid them. We're told not to seek solutions with pagan courthouses. We're told not to do that. Because pagan courthouses are not into seeking solutions. They just want to relieve the community. And once they are involved, they will come with violence and all kinds of demonic crap. The fact alone that you don't feel uncomfortable around pagan courthouses, but you always have to be in this anxious state to give respect to the judge or whoever that shows you already is satanic and is demonic. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So that's why sometimes even police officers will tell you don't press charge against someone. Because once you press charge, you will have to face an individual multiple times, and you'll be stuck into that conflict. So sometimes even police officers will help you out. It's rare, but it happens. And here's the thing, violent people know how to be practical. A violent individual just wants to escalate, will not escalate against a police officer who wears a badge because he knows he will be arrested and go to prison. He will not escalate against a guy with muscles that can smack him down. Unless he has a gun, then he will be comfortable escalating because he has a physical leverage. He can harm someone. Violent people will not demand respect from folks they can't handle. And here's the thing. If you have people walking in the power as saints, violent people will be very cautious to attack because they know that believers walking in the power, they can know what goes on in. Let me say that a believer that walks in power as saint can do energetic increase and knows what goes on into the houses of his enemies. If you have people who want to take you down and take your life, and you are a saint, you can do energetic inquiries and you can figure out what the plans are. You can figure out all the weaknesses by doing energetic inquiries. And once this happens, you'll be able to be ahead of them and you can even set them up. So when you're a saint walking the power, eventually violent people are going to be very cautious of how they treat you. Many will just flee and run away from you. Some of them will literally run away when they see you. And that's why violent people throw out tests to figure out if you are a good prey or not. Violent people will only try if they see there's a hope of them to get away with the least damage. Because violent people know that they're going to suffer damage by escalating. They just don't want to deal with they want to be the one that loses less. They want it to be that it's the target that loses the most. They want to leave with the least consequences. The moment they realize that they will be trapped in consequences, they'll just be demotivated. That's why we need to walk in the power all the time. When you walk in the power all the time, eventually people will realize, no. Not Rashid does it, not Ari does. No. You're upset and fed up, you know what? Just dump it somewhere else or just let it or just stop it. Sometimes even demons will tell the people, cut it out, because if you escalate and it backfires, this will haunt you for the rest of your life. Till the day you die. Do you want that? Not that I go out to harm people, no, but when things backfire automatically, hey, it's not on me. No. There's no, what I mean the energetic inquiry, watch my live stream about energetic inquiries, please. Then I've explained all over there. Then you'll have a better view of what I'm saying here. Look, just because you walk in the power doesn't mean that evil doesn't happen. Just because you walk in the power doesn't mean that they stop being evil, that they stop being narcissistic, they stop being negative. They will still be negative, they will still be evil, they will still be all of that, but they'll be managed by you walking in the power. Managed in the sense that they will still be there, they will still stalking, they will still attacking all of that, but because it all backfires, they are at bay, and you can continue in safety and abundance. Mhm. Now look, we are not vindictive, vengeful cowards that want to escalate against people that did us wrong. We're not like that. We are there to reach out to people, to look for the good for the human species. That's what we are. But they are not. They're the opposite. They just want to escalate, to flee. So we're not going to look for the doom of the people that come after us. But here's the thing, they're looking for their own doom and they want to drag us in their doom. It's a difference. We're not paying evil with evil. We're not looking for their doom. They're persisting in doom and want to drag us in their doom. That's what goes on. Mhm. All right. So, whatever situation you encounter, use energetic inquiries, please, and anticipate when necessary. Christopher is saying, flexibility over blunt honesty has kept me safe. By the way, being blunt and being honest are two different things. Someone that just tells you how bad they feel about you is just blunt, but they're not honest because they have no business feeling that bad about you. They should face themselves and look for solutions. So they're honest, they're blunt, but not honest. Someone that's honest will realize, you know what, I have bad feelings towards the individual. Why do I have bad feelings? Did the individual harm me? Or if they harm me, why am I bitter about it? So someone that's honest will look for long-term solutions. That's an honest individual. So blunt and honest are not the same. Blunt simply means you just want to be left alone. If you just escalate with just saying what you want to say, everyone else has to do that. It's dumping. And people think by being blunt that they can get away with it. Now, let me tell you, some people, you're blunt towards them and they feel pain when you're blunt towards them and they'll escalate on you into your face, stabbing you, or you end up in a hospital or whatever. Or some people, you're blunt towards them about how you feel and how you think, and that upsets them. And later, even people around are upset by what you said or how you behaved. Maybe you don't want to see someone. You're very clear. I don't want to talk to you. I don't want to see you. You're very blunt towards them. And other people are upset because of it. And now, because they're upset about you being so rejecting towards that individual, now you have other people now want to take it out on you. So being blunt is quite dangerous. Being flexible and practical will divert a lot of danger away from you. But Rashid, but that's not how I feel, what I think. What you feel and what you think is not relevant. What's relevant is that you're safe, that you're operating in God's will. If you feel very bad about someone, that's you feeling bad, but you shouldn't feel bad because you ought to walk in, in agape love. So there's something wrong with you keeping feeling bad about the individual. Even if the other individual is very nasty, very horrible, that shouldn't have a grip on you. So the fact that it has a grip on you shows you that you need deliverance. But if you're blunt, saying to the individual, I don't like you, I don't want to talk to you, whatever, you're now triggering violence. You're now triggering anger. And by doing that, you're putting danger on yourself. So unlearn being blunt and learn to be flexible. People that are flexible, they end up getting out of the worst situations unharmed. That's what turning the other cheek is, being flexible. By being blunt, you're setting yourself up to be accused and be victimized. And look at this. Let's say that you can't stand someone in your neighborhood, and later that individual is murdered. Now you're not happy the individual's murdered, you just couldn't stand the individual. But let's say you express to the police, let's say you expressed to everyone, I don't like that guy. Now when the police doing interrogations in the public, they'll figure out, oh, Nadine didn't like that guy, the guy that was killed. And now the police needs to find a culprit. They'll go after Nadine. And the prosecutor will hear, oh, Nadine didn't like the guy. They can use that to incriminate Nadine. So by being blunt about how you think or feel, others can use it against you. But I'm keeping it real. You know you're not keeping it real. Because being real implies you realize you're a vulnerable and fragile creature and that you need the Holy Spirit's power to be safe. So you being blunt is telling, I can keep myself safe. I got this. No, you don't got it. So you're not keeping it real. You're being stupid. Learn to be flexible and practical as Christ taught you to be. I'm very direct here. We need to stop this blunt thing, thinking it's being honest. It's not. Stop dumping and thinking you get away with it. You can't. When you dump, by just escalating, you are participating in violence. By participating in violence, you get stuck in a cycle of violence. I'll learn it. Someone asks your opinion about something, just tell them, why do you need my opinion? Oh, you asked me, how do you look in that dress? It doesn't matter what I think about it. Do you feel comfortable in the dress? That's what matters. Be constructive. Don't just say, well, I don't think that dress looks good on you, knowing full well what hurts someone's feelings. Just tell them, why do you ask my opinion? Stop asking my opinion because it doesn't matter. Look, people say, well, I'm honest. If someone asks my opinion, I'm just honest. I just bluntly say it. That if they don't want my honest opinion, you shouldn't ask for it. Listen, if someone is desperate for validation, and you know this, address their desperate need for validation to just give in to what they want. Because if what they want is not correct and you give in to it, you're contributing to what doesn't add up. So if you have your wife asking how she's in a dress, first of all, she's your wife. She should be beautiful to you anyway. Just tell her, honey, to me, you look great with or without that dress. Say that. Be constructive. Whatever you think or feel doesn't matter. What matters is that you keep peace and prosperity in your marriage. So this whole thing from the streets, say to people things to their face, you're inciting violence on yourself. Don't do that. Don't give people a piece of your mind. Don't. Learn to be flexible and de-escalate. Some people lost their lives because they confronted people. Now, some people need to be confronted. That's the right thing to do. Some people need to be addressed for their nonsense. But if it's better not to address them, don't address them. Because some people can't handle being addressed. It will remind them of their childhood when they were neglected by their parents. Now, it's not your fault their parents neglected them. But it's also not your fault that they decided not to face the trauma and look for healing. That they decided to cope by fleeing, and all of that, that's on them. That's not on their parents, that's on them. So if you notice about an individual, don't tell them that. Don't just confront them because you know they can't handle it. Be constructive and practical, believers. All right? Well, that's all I have to say for this live stream. Do not let things go too far. Anticipate them in the spirit and let it work out in the natural. That's it. Be at peace.